Welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove, and I'm joined by a man who always keeps up with the news. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I try to. I'm going to say, in the research for the show, didn't maybe do as good of a job as I thought, because there was a couple of things of like, what, that happened? And then I realized it happened like 4 days ago.
So we've been very US men's national team focused. Maybe we always go a little bit overboard.
Some would say to a lunatic degree.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes our US shows good, right? Mm-hmm. But there's all kinds of other soccer news happening all the time. So this show is going to be a catch-up of everything we've missed talking about on the show in the past week or so. So yeah, it's going to be kind of quick fire, but I'll bet we get sidetracked.
I'm going to start off with a kind of an indie one you probably haven't heard about, but Daryl, I don't know if you know that Mauricio Pochettino was relieved of his coaching duties at Spurs, and that Jose Mourinho has been brought in to replace him.
I did know that yesterday, but I spent a long time clicking on the link from Spurs' official website, and I kept getting essentially TottenhamHotspur.com cannot serve this data. That's not the phrase that was used.
I'm going to assume you
know
were
what I'm saying. The website was overwhelmed with people clicking.
You were probably not the only one. I'm assuming most of them were Jose Mourinho and his agents wanting to make sure it was official before they started blowing up Daniel Levy's phone.
I just didn't want to be the victim of a hoax. You know what I mean? I thought maybe it was one of those fake tweets.
Oh yeah, those are annoying. When you always have to look at the username and also the description. You can't just look at one or the other. You've got to look at both to make sure. But in this case, it is the truth. Mauricio Pochettino gone after 5.5 years thereabouts.
2014 he took over.
Yep. And it's like simultaneously not surprising and surprising is basically it. And the kind of numbers that have been thrown around, 14 points from 12 matches so far this season, going back to February, 25 points from 24 games. That's kind of the big thing, the big thing that has been reported. The larger thing is that it seems as though after losing the Champions League final last year, Mauricio Pochettino was sort of frustrated by Spurs' lack of investment, lack of kind of freshening up the squad before that season. And
We've got a whole new stadium. Why would you want new players?
Right, exactly. And then I think also an element of it was just also that he really wanted to win. And it seemed like that was going to be the perfect time. There's a good article about this for The Athletic that maybe he thought that was the perfect time to step away. After 5 years, you win the Champions League, and it's sort of you leave on a high note. And instead, it doesn't end on a high note. He goes back to Spain and, by all accounts, is a little bit frustrated by the way things went this summer and maybe didn't approach this season with the level of enthusiasm and energy required.
And there's an interesting thing here where it's not just like manager wants new players all the time. From what I've read and from what I understand and from what I've seen of Spurs this season, I kind of believe in the theory that the current group of players were just worn out. Worn out in terms of what Poch demands of them in training, worn out in terms of the style that he demands that they play. It's hard work to do all that pressing and keep forcing the turnovers, right? And that if you're not at 100% with that, if you're kind of done with it, then you either need a new coach with fresh ideas or you need a sort of influx of new players who are more receptive to doing all that hard work. Right, exactly. So, and he didn't get either of those. He got the same old players doing the same old thing, and they just weren't that excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, he gets Tonga Ndombele, he gets Giovanni Lo Celso and Ryan Sessegnon, but I don't think those are necessarily the players he was looking for, the players that maybe he had identified. And David Heitner, writing for The Guardian, had a very good piece about this, which kind of explained Pochettino's philosophy, which is why he was a good fit for Southampton. It's why Tottenham wanted him in the first place. It's the idea that you give young players or new players a chance to kind of take the opportunity to make the position theirs, to get that starting role.
Young players who are excited about your idea.
Exactly.
Right? And then not thinking about moving to Real Madrid, for example.
I think that's not at least in that first stage, but then they become these kind of stars, they become beloved figures, but then at a certain point I think it's accepted that players are going to want to move on. Tottenham fans won't like it, but it's the truth that Tottenham are not the pinnacle of world football. I would say, a lot of clubs aren't. It probably goes to Man United and Real Madrid. They tend to be the ones that, not Man United, that was a Freudian slip. Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Yeah, because I remember a certain Portuguese player moving on from Man United to Real Madrid.
I think why that was in my head was because I was going to say, even me as a Man United fan, I would recognize that lots of heads get turned pretty routinely. And so I think...
Do you believe in the idea that Pochettino wanted Eriksen to leave and go to Madrid this summer? And in hindsight, does that explain Pochettino starting the season with Eriksen on the bench?
No, it absolutely does, because I think that's part of his philosophy is players are going to have their heads turned, but your plan as the manager, as an organization with long-term strategy is you sell them on for a lot of money, a lot more than you paid for them, you reinvest that in the squad, and then you bring in, to the point, young players, new players who are excited about the idea and excited about the project.
So if Eriksen wanted to go to Madrid and Pochettino was happy for Eriksen to go to Madrid and Madrid wanted Eriksen, what happened?
It seems as though it goes back to Daniel Levy, who is like the kind of man in charge of Tottenham.
Very
that
much so.
He notoriously is a very, very difficult man to negotiate with. It's why it's tough to get players out of Tottenham, because he is always going to want to make sure he gets as much money as possible, make sure all the terms are in their favor.
I read a story today illustrating how exacting he is in his negotiations. We may have read the same story about Luka Modric.
No.
So when they signed Luka Modric from, I've forgotten which Croatian club, I want to say it was Dinamo Zagreb. So it was £20 million, and Zagreb, if it was Zagreb, asked for also 5 Modric jerseys to, Spurs ones to send back to the club. And he said, yeah, that's fine. But when the invoice came for the $20 million transfer fee, he deducted the cost of the 5 jerseys from the fee that Spurs were going to pay.
Which in some ways makes you a very shrewd businessman and puts you out in front, but in a lot of other ways it gives you a reputation of being very difficult to deal with. So if you've got Christian Eriksen who wants to go, and you've got Real Madrid who are theoretically likely very interested, there still is that like Gareth Bale, you really did nickel and dime us here and there. It was difficult to make this thing work, and even when we thought we had terms, you would kind of change them or you would ask for more, and I think it limits the efficiency, the speed at which players can be moved on, and that's part of it as well, that you don't want to bring in new players until you've gotten rid of those players so that you can finance it all, because the big point that you kind of already alluded to, or you've already mentioned, is that Tottenham have a new stadium. They have to start repaying those loans, and that is another big aspect of this. It always is, when it comes to sacking a big-time manager, is when Champions League looks like it's going to be in doubt, that's when the shoe tends to drop. And in this case, I think it was the fear that Tottenham, if they don't have consistent Champions League appearances over the next couple seasons, won't be as capable of financing those loans, and so you've got to make a move now.
Okay, so the man they brought in very quickly, I'm going to say suspiciously quickly, Jose Mourinho is now the Spurs manager. This is wild.
I think
every time I see Jose Mourinho not in Chelsea clubber, I think it's been photoshopped. Even Mourinho in Manchester United.
Did you say clubber?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that.
It just means like gear, club gear. You know what I mean? Like the tracksuits or the coats with the club crest and the initials every day. Even Mourinho in Man United stuff made me think, this looks photoshopped, this looks weird. I just so associate him with Chelsea. So this is really a weird visual for me. But I think it might work.
Yeah, I think it might as well. A couple things I would respond to there. The first one, to your point, there was the quote from him from like a few years ago about how he would never manage Tottenham because he loves Chelsea too much.
Yeah.
I think once the fans all booed him and kind of turned against him, maybe that was when some of those loyalties went out the door. Yep. But I'm also with you that I think this was a deal that maybe started happening last week. By all accounts, Levy, I think, had made it clear to Pochettino that things are not working out, and I think had hoped that Pochettino would maybe step down or would walk away. Pochettino, for a variety of reasons, some of them monetary, chose not to do that.
Yeah, because if you get fired, you get the payout.
Exactly,
right?
Which is anywhere between 12 and 20 million pounds, allegedly.
Which is a lot more than the zero he would have got for stepping down.
Exactly. So you understand then, but I'm going to assume that if they're already talking to him about, like, hey, maybe you want to step down, they're probably already talking to potential replacements, and I think it was, although there was some speculation that maybe Julian Nagelsmann was considered.
Too late.
Yeah, Rafa Honigstein said a year too late. And
so
I would agree.
Why did we both seem so positive about this Mourinho appointment? Because I don't think all of Spurs fandom is that positive about the Mourinho appointment.
There are a couple reasons. Because I think the initial hesitation is just that you have a manager you have Daniel Levy who basically, as we've talked about, does not want to sign players, does not want to bring in a bunch of new players, does not necessarily want to offload players quickly. You've got Jose Mourinho, who routinely does want that, and that's kind of what happened with him at Man United. It's what happened with him at Chelsea. So it seems right there,
the signature of Nemanja Matic.
Right, exactly.
That
they can have him. But I think right there, it seems like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do this? And I do sort of believe that part of his interview process was impressing upon Daniel Levy that he has sort of had the time to adjust and realize that maybe some of his approach was outdated. Maybe he has a new approach to how he wants to run the team.
Did you see in his quote there was a thing about, like, I like the squad and I like the academy? Which is a very interesting quote because it suggests I'll use the squad and maybe I'll get Troy Parrott in there. I don't know.
It sure suggests that that's what he's saying right now.
Yes.
But I also recently, maybe not in the moment, but recently, as a Man United fan, have come around to the idea that, like, Mourinho was a little hard done by, I think, by Ed Woodward and Manchester United, because that year they get second place, he doesn't get the kind of reinvestment he wanted. The squad isn't kind of retooled, and he essentially is told to go do the exact same thing with a team that is arguably not as good, and everybody else makes up ground. And I do think that he didn't really get a lot of support from the Man United board or from Ed Woodward to the extent he needed, and I think that he is still a good manager, and I think if he can evolve and adapt his approach a little bit, because we've kind of had that conversation before that maybe he's a slightly bit behind the times in terms of everybody else is playing this aggressive, attacking, pressing, high-energy soccer.
This is part of why it'll be fascinating, right? And I think the Spurs players are going to react positively to it, because he's not going to come in with like an all-out, like Red Bull style or Nagelsmann style full-court press, like a really high press. So the players are going to be interested in something that's at least a little bit different to Pochettino, right? But I also don't think Mourinho is going to have everybody behind the ball and counter-attacking. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something different to what Pochettino is doing, and probably different to the stereotype of Mourinho that got established towards the end of his Man United tenure.
Yes, I do wonder, with that in mind,
everyone's got to give a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder if we see a more like avuncular Jose Mourinho, at least in the beginning, because the
always in the beginning you see a more avuncular Jose Mourinho. It's towards the end when things go wrong.
True, but in the case of Spurs right now, there's the good Athletic article about this, that essentially because Pochettino, what happened with the Champions League, because he didn't get the players he wanted, because the players weren't sold on, he became a sort of more sullen figure, I guess, in training, and was less into it. He didn't do some of the tactical preparation that they were used to, and it seems like by the end, players, I think the quote was like, you didn't look at him because you didn't want to incur his wrath, you didn't want to make him mad, you didn't want to invite any opportunities for criticism. So if they're coming from a perspective of training was way too hard and the coach was disinterested and kind of sulking, if Jose Mourinho comes in and is fun, maybe that turns it around right away. We'll find out against West Ham, I suppose.
He's at least charming, right? He's always charming.
Yeah.
So, to begin with.
Or it just implodes massively, which is worth remembering. Again, not trying to like throw salt in the wound here, but like we're not far removed from Tottenham sort of being they're changing the manager again and again and again.
My guess is that Mourinho turns it around this season enough to get them either actually in or challenging for the Champions League spots, which is what the Daniel Levy decision is all about, as you said at the top, right? Long term, we don't know, but I think short term, it's a good hire. It's also, and this is maybe testament to Pochettino, it's sort of the most high-profile managerial hire in Tottenham's history, right? What Pochettino and Daniel Levy have done in the last few years is elevate Spurs to the point where they're the type of club that a guy like Jose Mourinho, and look at the other clubs he's been in charge of, would really want that job, right? It's not so long ago they were hiring like Martin Jol. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the two people that Daniel Levy wanted before he got Pochettino, I think Pochettino was third choice behind Frank de Boer and Louis van Gaal.
Right.
So, yeah, again, some of their managerial approaches were maybe not as inspired as they were
Well,
under
Van Gaal
Mauricio
would have been
Pochettino.
a big get at the time, right?
He's
the type of high-profile coach I'm talking about, but maybe there's a reason they didn't get him last time. But
Indeed.
they got Mourinho this time.
Yeah, but this is a Spurs team that qualified twice for the Champions League in the 22 seasons before Mauricio Pochettino took over. He got them there 4 of the last 5 seasons. So I
mean, that's what Spurs are now. They're an expected Champions League team. They were not that in 2014.
Exactly, yeah. So I think it's sad whenever a manager loses his job. It will be fascinating to see Jose Mourinho at Spurs, and I would assume that Pochettino will not be out of work. Basically, I think he'll be out of work as long as he wants to be out of work. If he takes some time to recuperate and takes the rest of the season off, I'm going to guess he'll get some offers this summer, but maybe already has a couple offers saved from a club named Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I don't want to let's not go into it too much, but Bayern Munich or Real Madrid are probably 2 destinations. Those are not bad destinations for someone who just got fired.
I also think Ed Woodward is now making a lot more like furtive glances at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, like, are you the one I want? Because the guy that I've always wanted, I now don't have to pay for. So we'll see what happens there too.
We will see what happens.
Which is to say, he'll end up at Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. Anyway.
All right. Time for a new story from me.
What you got?
A story I really wanted to talk about on the show, but there was just no time because we're so focused on the US national team. The Raheem Sterling, Joe Gomez incident with England.
Okay.
I think in a weird way, when it first happened, I was obviously very concerned. I think it's become a positive story in many, many ways. So for those who didn't see, Sterling of Man City and Joe Gomez of Liverpool got into it a little bit towards the end of Liverpool's win over City in the Premier League. Then when they met up for England duty before the game against Montenegro, Sterling was already there. Gomez came in and I think leaned over the back of him to shake his hand and say hello. And Sterling got into it with him. I think asked him, are you still the big man kind of thing. Essentially, there was some leftover anger from that game. Southgate, this is the part I like. Southgate shut it down by just the whole thing was apparently 5 to 10 seconds, right? But Southgate made the decision, all right, we can't have this club rivalry stuff coming into the England setup. I'm going to just not make Sterling available for selection for the Montenegro game. It's exactly what he did. Just gave him essentially an internal 1-game suspension. Sterling sat and watched from the stands while Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford helped England run riot on Montenegro won 7-0.
There we go.
Sterling reacted really well, right? He made clear on social media that him and Joe Gomez are good. He understands. He's still fully behind England. There was no sulking from Raheem Sterling. England fans booed Joe Gomez.
This is what I'm confused by, and I wanted to hear a little bit more about if you have any ideas.
I mean, I think this is just maybe some Man City fans who are taking sides, or maybe some England fans who are taking sides between maybe our best and most creative player versus a not even first choice for England centre-back. So they decided to take sides and boo someone. And this is my favourite part about this. Afterwards, Raheem Sterling, again, he's back on social media saying, hey guys, calm it down. Me and Joe Gomez are good. There's no need for you to be booing. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Because all due disrespect to Man City, but their fans I don't think of as being the most traveling. Yes, I said disrespect. So I was wondering then, is the entire stadium Man City fans? That's a weird occurrence, but it probably does make more sense that they, England fans have maybe finally come to embrace Raheem Sterling as one of their, if not their most important players. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you back him, you side with him, you give him your support. Why that has to mean we boo the other guy, I'm not sure. But
I like that Sterling
such is life.
Put a stop to that.
Yeah.
And then I would like even more the idea that Southgate really put a stop to any of this club rivalry stuff happening, because that has been the curse of England for a long, long time, right? And that's not just me imagining it. Do you remember that famous clip semi-recently, maybe a year or two ago, of Rio Ferdinand and Frank Lampard talking about how one of the failings of the, quote, golden generation of England players that had guys like Lampard, Gerrard, Ferdinand, was that it was still a bit cliquey. When they all met up for England duty, the Man United players stuck together, the Chelsea players stuck together, the Arsenal players stuck together, the Liverpool players stuck together. And then because there was that big rivalry at the time, right? And I think one of the secret blessings of the last few years for England is that there hasn't been two big teams going at it for the title, right? So there hasn't been an obvious big rivalry. So the England players didn't bring that with them. But in the last 2 years, the obvious rivalry has become Man City, Liverpool.
Yeah.
Those are the two big teams going for the title. They both have a lot of England players on them. So I think there is a danger that it becomes two camps within the England team, and then you've got trouble, right? So Southgate has put a stop to this as early as possible, and the players have responded positively. And then England won 7-0, and then they won 4-0 against Kosovo with Sterling back in the team.
That's decent.
Yeah. So I think it's honestly a really stormy waters, weathered and navigated expertly by Gareth Southgate.
I have a question for you about this.
Yeah.
How much do you credit social media with how integrated that England team is? Because I do feel like we see a lot more of either players commenting on each other's Instagrams or occasionally posting together, and that's players from across teams, not from the same team, just like enjoying each other's stuff, but more of that spread. And I do wonder if social media allows them to be a bit more connected
I think that's
in
true.
a more passive sort of way.
Yeah, I don't think it's the main reason, but it does mean that you can have you can be miles and miles and miles away and still have an interaction with an England teammate, even though you're on different club teams.
Right.
So yeah, I would bet more important is the stuff we don't see, like maybe an England football team WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And Harry Maguire on a unicorn?
Yeah, but that is a symbol of the joy that was around an England team in 2018 that we never ever used to see.
I just want to note that MLS has totally permeated my brain, because all I wanted to say there was Harry Ship, and I was like, I know it's not Harry Ship. I know that it's not who's the starting center back for England and Man United. It took me a minute.
But he was in the water, so he might be a ship.
You never know. You never know, Daryl.
All right, give me another story. What haven't we talked about, Taylor, over the last week or so?
We haven't really talked about Euros at all, Euro qualifying, and how we've come to an end. Sort of.
I should have mentioned, by the way, England qualified for Euro 2020.
They certainly did. The pots are now mostly complete for the Euro 2020 draw.
Yeah.
We've got 4 teams that still have to be split into their respective playoff groups. Then we'll have the playoffs, but we've got a lot of teams. 20 teams thus far have qualified directly. 4 spots are still open.
20 out of 24 are qualified. The remaining 4 are through the Nations League playoffs, right, which will happen in March. Go on, Scotland.
Go on, Scotland, indeed. Your top 6 seeds, which brought about some confusion from people on Twitter, were Belgium, England, Italy, Germany, Spain, and Ukraine. And that was where some people were maybe scratching their heads, because France...
You didn't say France, and France are the World Cup holders.
That is odd, right? I looked it up. Basically, it's because seeding for this tournament is entirely based on qualifying performance. Where I then got confused, I was like, well, but Ukraine have 20 points, France have 25. 25 is more than 20. So then I was confused, but it's because the groups are uneven. Some teams have 5-team groups, some teams have 6-team groups. When you're comparing the two, you have to drop the results against the weakest team in there.
I see.
Spain obviously picked up some points against, France had to drop the points against, I think it was Malta or something, which took them from 25 to 19.
Oh, not more importantly, but goal difference gets dropped as well there, right? We had some big wins.
I think Spain Spain had Malta. I forget who the bad one was in France's group,
The
but
bad
yeah.
one.
But it was Belgium, I think the best performing team, even dropping their 6 points because they were in a 6-team group. They had 24
They won
points.
every game, right? Didn't Belgium and Italy both just win 10 out of 10?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the third best team, England. There you are, my friend.
All right,
there
so
you are.
England in part one. So for people who aren't following this is important because when the actual Euro 2020 group stages are drawn, part one is like you're the top team in each group, right? And there it means that France, because they're not in part one, they could be drawn into a group with England or Belgium. So France could end up with a really, really dangerous team in their group.
Right.
Yeah.
And then with the remaining 4 spots
And
that we
vice
talked
versa.
about, and vice versa, exactly. With the remaining spots that we talked about, you have essentially like 4 4-team groups, but like all of those are essentially instantly into semifinals.
This is what the Nations League playoffs.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, like Path A, you don't have finalized yet. You basically have Iceland and then 3 of Bulgaria, Israel, Hungary, Romania. But like as an example, one group that is finalized, Path B, Bosnia, Slovakia, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland. I think Bosnia playing Northern Ireland, Slovakia playing Republic of Ireland, and then the winner of those two plays each other.
Yeah.
Whoever wins that one is the qualifier for the Euros.
It's worth making clear to people they're not group stages, right?
Right.
It's like they're paths because they immediately go to semi-finals
Exactly.
with 4 teams.
It's like path, not group, yeah.
It's going to be exciting in March. I'm going to enjoy watching those games.
I also
and like I said, go on Scotland.
Yes, go on Scotland. I also enjoyed we're going to be doing a Pro Rel show for Soccer 101, which
Yes.
will require different terms for like conferences and brackets and divisions. And I like path being utilized. That's a
you
new
see
one.
that? That's yours now.
I'm not using that one at all because it still confuses me, but I like that it clarifies that it's not a group stage round robin sort of situation.
Can we go back to the pots and
Sure.
the seeding? Can I assume that you don't like this idea of using the Euro qualifying points and results to then seed teams? 'Cause
I don't know.
To me, it seems any system that has the World Cup champions who've just done everything they can and won their Euro qualifying group.
Yeah, they didn't really struggle.
Be in the second part seems like there's a flaw in the system.
Yeah, and
why
it
not
also-
just use FIFA rankings, for example?
I guess maybe just because the argument then is like you're not like rewarding performance, but then to your point, you're not really rewarding World Cup performance with this one.
This strikes me as similar to the CONCACAF Nations League, the Nations League draw that ended with like Jamaica in League B and Cuba in League A because they just had an odd system of ranking.
Yeah. It's an odd little system that they've come up with, but I guess it's the one that then you kind of remove everything else, and it's just like, did you do well in qualifying? And I guess some did well, more well than others.
More well.
Weller, if you prefer.
The weird thing is, though, I feel like the FIFA rankings, they fixed them in 2018 or they made them better. And then all these confederations have started saying, yeah, but we're going to use some wacky other system instead.
It's a little strange.
Yeah.
It's a little strange, yes. But we've got, as we said, 20 automatic qualifiers. We'll talk some more about some of those teams, I'm going to assume, in just a little bit.
Okay, so 3 news stories down, many more to go because there were a lot of stories happening over the last few days. But first, today's show is sponsored by Feels. Feels is a better way to feel better. It is premium CBD oil to keep your head clear and help you feel your best.
That's right. Did the Euro team that you most support, did they fail to qualify automatically? Do they now have a stressful series of games that they have to win in order to make it?
Maybe giving you anxiety?
Yeah, maybe you've got some anxiety, some sleeplessness, maybe even some physical pain because you're so anxious about this. Well, CBD has been proven to greatly reduce anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness, and Feels' premium CBD will keep your head clear and help you feel your best.
I've mentioned this before, but my wife had some sciatica, which is extremely painful. CBD was the only, and it was Feels, was the only thing that could get her to have some restful sleep for a few hours. Yeah,
it's your wife and Pauly Shore from Biodome. Those are the only two people in the world who ever had sciatica.
Is that right?
No, it's not. But I'm glad it works for her, and it does work naturally. Nor should you, but maybe you should. It's Stephen Baldwin before he became a whole thing.
Okay.
Feels works naturally to help you feel better. There's no high hangover or addiction, so you can use it without any of those fears. Joe Biden might think that marijuana is a gateway drug, but CBD will not be that.
Oh, Joe Biden, you old man.
Yeah.
It is also perfectly legal in all 50 states. Perfectly legal. They wouldn't be selling it. They wouldn't be advertising on TSS if it wasn't.
No, they probably would not.
So you can become a member today by going to feels.com/TSS and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's feals.com/TSS to become a member and get 50% automatically taken off your first order with free shipping. What was that URL one more time, Tyler?
Feals, feals.com/TSS. Thank you very much to Feals for sponsoring today's episode, for making European fans feel better, for making Daryl's wife feel better. Daryl, we've done 3 news stories. What have we got next?
I want to talk about Wales, Golf, Madrid.
All right.
In that order. Do you know about this story?
I certainly do.
So Wales fans have been singing to celebrate Gareth Bale, Wales, Golf, Madrid. And it all goes back to a Predrag Mijatovic quote. So Predrag Mijatovic is former Real Madrid player, current sporting director. So this summer, when they were sort of trying to get rid of Gareth Bale, who's on a high salary, but they're trying to get him out the door, they were questioning his commitment to Real Madrid. And Mijatovic said, I think it's Wales, Golf, and Madrid in that order, right? So if you're a Wales fan, you've just heard that your national team is ranked 2 places above Real Madrid. So they've started singing Wales, Golf, Madrid, Wales, Golf, Madrid, Wales, Golf, Madrid,
well done.
Constantly while Gareth Bale is playing for Wales, right? So there's this like great fan. It's the new Will Griggs on fire, in my opinion. Yeah. It's got that weird sense of humour to it.
You know who I'm going to assume didn't love that chant so much?
What's that?
Real Madrid.
They did not, and they would have liked it even less after the most recent Euro 2020 qualifier. Wales needed to win to qualify. They went into the game against Hungary 1 point behind Hungary in the final game at home. They won 2-0, so they qualified for Euro 2020. The real headline here is Wales have qualified for Euro 2020, but they did so while singing that song, with Gareth Bale getting the assist on the first goal with Aaron Ramsey. He burned a left back, cut back, sent in a perfectly precise cross for Aaron Ramsey to head home. At the end of the game, Gareth Bale was pictured celebrating with his teammates with a Wales flag that had printed on it Wales, Golf, Madrid at the top, and in that order at the bottom. This has become a thing. Madrid are not going to be happy.
No, I would assume not, because like going back to Tottenham and Pochettino for a moment, in that athletic story, there was an anecdote about how like 4 players had been asked to like make a goofy comment about Mauricio Pochettino's weird hair when he was a player, and no one really wanted to because there was this idea like he was going to hear it and get mad at them, and then there'd be punishments. I think if things are good and everybody's hunky-dory, then he doesn't care if you're making fun of his hair. And I would say same thing here. If Gareth Bale were killing it for Real Madrid and had really cemented himself in Zidane's plans and everything was great, and then he had that flag, it would be sort of a funny reference to days gone by, whereas instead it feels like, no, it sort of is actually the way he kind of prioritizes things.
Well, here's what makes it worse. He played for Wales in October in a Euro 2020 qualifier, was injured when he went back to Madrid, hasn't played for Madrid since. His next game after that Wales October qualifier was the next game back for Wales. So he's just been injured for Madrid but able to play for Wales, which honestly may be just a coincidence or maybe like an injury management type thing. But it just makes it look true, right? The Wales Golf Madrid thing. So, yeah, I would expect that this might be the thing that gets Bale out the door in January. I'll be honest, though, the way that he's been treated at Real Madrid, I kind of like Bale's like, yeah, so what attitude.
I saw them I think it was Madrid issued a statement saying like he is our most important player, or he is like our highest profile player, and we will stick with him and he will be a key player for us again. And it felt for all the world like a statement that was written by a computer or artificial intelligence like 3 seasons ago. Yeah. Less so these days.
The newspapers are not happy. I saw a couple of headlines from, I can't remember if it's AS or Marca. I want to say it's Marca, that were essentially saying it's very disrespectful for him to be holding that flag.
I have another Wales question for you.
Yeah.
Can we go away from Gareth Bale for a moment?
We can. I've got a couple more things I want to get to.
Oh, go ahead then.
All right, so the other thing is Wales fans have enjoyed this Wales Golf Madrid thing so much, they've come up with another chant for another player.
Okay.
Any guesses?
I'm going to assume it's something to do with Aaron Ramsey?
No, it's Joe Allen.
Okay.
And for Joe Allen, the song that Wales fans were singing was Wales Chickens Stoke.
Okay.
Wales Chicken Stoke.
What's the chicken Stoke? I mean, Stoke I get.
Stoke is who he plays for. Wales is the national team. Joe Allen runs a chicken sanctuary with his wife. They rehome commercial chickens.
He's the best.
So after chickens have been involved in like commercial farming for eggs, I assume, they take them in and give them a nice, happy life.
No, they're actually growing corn. It's a new thing.
They take them in and give them a nice, happy life. I looked into this. Is this true? It's absolutely true. Joe Allen was on the cover of Chicken and Egg magazine in 2016.
What? What?
He was the cover
How
story.
am I just finding out about this? I love Joe Allen.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Wales, Chickens, Stoke.
That makes me very happy. What else?
The other thing is just like looking at this Wales team. It's kind of a classic Wales team with, some championship players here and there. But also the wings for Wales now are... This is Ryan Giggs' Wales team, by the way. Gareth Bale on one side, Danny James on the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
That's a team worth watching at Euro 2020, right?
This kind of goes back to what I was going to ask you, because you say that it's like it's some championship players in there, and I look at it again, and you've got a Juventus player, you've got Leipzig, you've got Man United, you've got 2 Man United players there in the form of youngsters, you've got Real Madrid. Like, there's a lot of high profile there.
And there's some championship players.
And there's some championship players there. But here's my question. With all that said, like Wales in a group with Croatia, Slovakia, Hungary, Azerbaijan, finishing second but only managing to do so on the very last day. Mm-hmm. I've seen
Gloriously
some people, true, but I've seen some people sort of speculate on like why was that the case though? Like with some of the talent they have, shouldn't they have qualified much more easily than they did?
So I see this differently because I've paid, passing attention to a Wales team my entire life. Like when I was young, and it's like the early 90s, I remember having this question in my head. Wales have Ian Rush, Dean Saunders, Mark Hughes, like 3 of the best strikers in British football, and yet they're never qualifying for tournaments. They had like some other like decent players like Clayton Blackmore, who played for Manchester United. You know what I'm saying? Neville Southall was the goalkeeper. Everybody knew Neville Southall, famous Everton goalkeeper. But it was the same situation where they didn't have an entire 11 of top-class players. They were mixed in with sort of second-tier players. And I actually think it's quite hard to get that mix right. And so it's only going to work intermittently. And that's why Euro 2016 was a rare appearance at the tournament finals for Wales. And I don't think it should be expected that they always make it just because they have a bunch of names that people know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fair. I just look at some of those names and then I look at the man who's in charge of them.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's a correlation with them maybe not doing as well as they could have.
See, I'd say they're overachieving for historically how Wales have done.
I mean, yeah, if you're going historically, that is probably the case. That is probably the case. All right. There we are.
But it's not even like Wales have like a higher top end than maybe they did in the past, right? Like Ian Rush, Mark Hughes, these are like incredible strikers from the 90s. It's the same as having like Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey right now.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I do think that squad is probably better than the Euro squad of 4 years ago, looking at it just on paper.
Oh, that's interesting.
You've got some of those same names, yes, 4 years older, but still, like Aaron Ramsey now moving to Juve and seems to be more than a little bit happy to be playing there, at least happier than he was at Arsenal maybe.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I do still think you've got some of that same talent and then some other young players who've come through to fill some ranks, but we'll see. If they make it into the knockout round the way they did last time, then I will stop being pessimistic about Ryan Giggs.
Well, as long as Joe Allen isn't too distracted by his chicken sanctuary, they'll be
well, it's
fine.
Wales, Chicken, Stoke, right?
Yeah.
So at least Wales are a priority.
Yeah, it's Stoke that need to worry.
Exactly.
All right, what else we got, Taylor? What else have we missed?
I'm going to take us away from Europe to a country with a European connection.
Okay.
I'm going to say congratulations to Suriname and that maybe Suriname are good. That's a thing I missed.
CONCACAF?
You got it.
Okay.
Promoted to League A of the CONCACAF Nations League, qualified for their first ever Gold Cup. They topped Group D of League B ahead of St. Vincent, Nicaragua, and Dominica, which is... again, not the biggest opponent, the strongest opposition.
Can I just pause to say in your face, Christian Polanco?
As well you should. As well you should. Yeah, Dominican fans were not loving it. I think it's Dominica and Dominican Republic might be two different things.
Oh,
though.
excuse me.
Yes. Yeah.
My apologies to everybody involved.
I mean, unless I'm wrong, in which case you owe no one an apology. But I think there's 2 names that I want to kind of focus on from this one or do the best I can. One of them is Gliophilo Wilter. You can get the Dutchness of that name as best you can.
You say it as if I'm not familiar with him.
Of course, yeah. He's a well, I'm just going to give you some background then.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but just say it just so our listeners can hear
20-year-old forward for Aris Limassol, but he was born in Suriname. So he is sort of representative of a lot of the way Suriname has been in the past, which is players who were born and live in Suriname, most of whom play in Suriname. Gliophilo has 10 goals and 6 appearances, all of those in the Nations League, so that's decent. And that is kind of where they've been in the past. The difference is another name, Nigel Hasselbank. Does that sound familiar to you?
Half of it does.
Jimmy's nephew. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's nephew.
His nephew's called Nigel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And he got his first 2 caps in these 2 Nations League games, scored a goal. And the reason why is because there was a long-standing rule that in order for Dutch players born in the Netherlands, people who live in the Netherlands, to represent Suriname, to basically declare their eligibility for the Suriname national team, they had to give up their Dutch citizenship.
Oh, wow.
And essentially that was what limited Curaçao from calling in those types of players. That's what limited Suriname from doing the same. Curaçao, I guess, had that relaxed a couple years ago, which is why we started to see them start to improve a little bit over the last year or so.
Yeah.
And now Curaçao have done that. Now Suriname have embraced that too. So you're going to start seeing more Dutch players who have the connection, because it's worth noting There's a lot of them.
This is going to improve CONCACAF, right?
Yeah, I did not realize. Like, I knew, like, Clarence Seedorf, for example, I think was born in Suriname. But in terms of, like, past Dutch players, Patrick Kluivert, Edgar Davids, Ruud Gullit, Nigel de Jong, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Ryan Babel, Virgil van Dijk, Gigi Wijnaldum all have connections to Suriname. Not saying any of those would have played for Suriname in the past, but I do think you're going to have that second-tier
Do you think
player.
Van Dijk's going to do a one-time switch?
Probably not. But I do think you'll have that maybe second or third tier of player who know they're never going to make the Dutch national team, but look at, like, yeah, Suriname, that's where my family's from. Like, I'll go back there and represent them. I'll maybe make it to a Gold Cup. I'll get some international experience. It'll be really cool. So I think you're going to start seeing Suriname, similar to Curacao, start increasing their standing in CONCACAF and their quality overall.
Honestly, just selfishly, as someone who, I'm going to say, has to watch a lot of CONCACAF football. Anything that improves the standard in CONCACAF, I'm all for.
Yeah, as am I. So, but I think I'm excited to see Suriname, and I would just, like, we're going to keep reiterating this because if the U.S. draws them and if they're a tougher opponent, and we hear people say, like, it's this tiny nation, they never have even made it before, I will respond with, that is correct, and it is telling that they're here now, because now they've made it, because they're getting a little bit better.
So they're in League A next time we do the CONCACAF Nations League. And did you say they qualified for the Gold Cup?
They did, exactly,
so we'll
by winning their group.
In 2021
you got it.
Is the next Gold Cup.
You are correct, my friend.
All right.
You are correct, my friend.
Nigel Hasselbank. Is it Nigel Floyd Hasselbank or just Nigel Hasselbank?
Just Nigel Hasselbank. There's a couple Hasselbanks. I think Gliofilo Vlieter also has Hasselbank in his name. He also has Riedevold in his nickname. So I'm wondering if those are just like traditional Dutch names more so than I realized.
I don't know.
It's like Smith over there. I'm sure. I'm sure.
I've got one last. Unless you got anything else on Suriname.
Nope.
Okay, I've got one last Euro story for you.
Please.
And I would say it's the big one. It's Finland. Finland.
I would say that it's not the big one, but it is the big narrative, yeah.
It absolutely is, because Finland have qualified for Euro 2020. It's going to be their first ever major tournament.
Right on.
And I want to play a guessing game with you, Taylor, if you don't mind. How many previous attempts...
Teemu Pukki.
How many previous attempts... Here's the answer to a lot of questions. How many previous attempts at qualifying for a major tournament, which is basically Euros or World Cup, do you think Finland have made before this successful attempt?
How many times have they tried?
Yeah.
So this is one of those questions where it's either like, none, this was their first chance,
it's
or...
not that. They've been trying, let's put it that way.
20.
32.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
This was their 33rd attempt at qualifying for a major tournament, and they finally made it, finishing second in the group, just behind Italy. Well, not just behind, because Italy got 30 points. Finishing second in the group, behind Italy.
Oh man, that feels like the Trace Kamos guy from Silicon Valley, who's like, now I've increased my value by over $4 million in 10 years, and like, well, interest alone would have done that. I feel like just luck alone, at some point they should have qualified, but I guess here we are. Finland have found their way through.
They have found their way through. They qualified with a game to spare. So there were two games this match window. Their first game, they beat Liechtenstein 3-0. That's what did it. Then they lost to Greece, but it kind of didn't matter because they were already... That must have been torture for Greece, by the way.
Yeah.
Greece went into that as third place in the group, but too many points behind Finland to catch them. And then they beat them. That's heartbreaking for Greece.
I was going through looking at the kind of like quote-unquote big teams that do not have any way of qualifying for the Euros anymore, and it does seem that Greece were the only ones who were sort of like have been there before, have somewhat like of prestigious reputation, but in this case, eliminated by the Finns.
Eliminated by the Finns, who'll be making their first appearance at a major tournament. And of course, it was all about Teemu Pukki, right? Teemu Pukki scored 9 goals in the qualifiers. He was obviously their top scorer. And I had a quick look at how they play, and it's kind of interesting. It's a little bit Icelandy in that it's a bit of a basic 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1 type thing. But it's very much a good example. And this is like some limited footage that I had time to watch this morning, basically. So don't trust me too much, but trust me a little bit.
All right.
It seems like Finland have got a setup where they know who their star player is, right? It's the guy who's scoring goals in the Premier League, Teemu Pukki. And it's all set up to benefit him. And I remember this because I remember the Norwich coach and some technical staff at Norwich talking about the way we get the best out of Teemu Pukki is we don't cross the ball into the box for him. We don't send long balls for him to chase. Everything is about getting balls on the floor for him to run onto or for him to meet as he's coming into the box as we cross it in low. Finland are doing the same thing. I deliberately took chunks and chunks of footage. Almost no crosses. Everything is about getting low balls in to the box for Teemu Pukki to get on the end of that way. Or it's about going forward and trying to slip Teemu Pukki through. So it's all concentrated on this one star player, which I think makes it really interesting. And then we'll make it a really good narrative for Euro 2020 when the broadcasters, guessing what, ESPN and TUDN, like when there's a small team, they like to focus on the one famous player. You'll focus on the one famous player, but then it's also what the team is doing. So I think it'll be a nice team to watch at Euro 2020.
That seems like it would be very easy to defend against. Obviously, it has not been because they have qualified automatically.
He keeps moving. That's the problem. So I would see him stand on the shoulder of a defender, ready for a ball over the top, or he would come deep and get a quick touch, and he'd lay it off to someone, and then continue his run in like a big like circle to then get in behind. Like it's easy to say, oh, we'll shut Teemu Pukki down. But if he keeps running around and moving, he makes it really hard. That's why he's a really effective player.
If you had to guess based on what you've seen and what you've read, are they more likely to be like an exciting, interesting team at the Euros, or are they going to be another Albania, Northern Ireland, Iceland, like sitting in, being defensive, and then maybe getting a goal on the counter, and then sitting in and bunkering for the rest of the game?
So every time I looked at them, I deliberately tried to look at them against Italy and Greece as well, because they were beating up on teams like Liechtenstein. They weren't like really far back and compact, right? So I don't think it's going to be hyper defensive. So I don't think it'll be that frustrating. It certainly won't be like Northern Ireland.
Okay, all right, that's good. And they don't have Will Grigg, so that won't help them either.
Unless he can follow one-time switch.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows at this point, Mr. Grove?
So there you go. Finland have qualified for the Euros by playing to Teemu Pukki's strength. One thing worth noting, there was a viewing party in Norwich City Centre.
Hey!
So they honoured their star striker by having a viewing party to watch Finland-Liechtenstein. Imagine that on a big screen in Norwich City Centre.
I have a hard time, and I have a hard time believing that I would be really excited about that. Although I suppose if you're a Norwich fan or a Teemu Pukki fan, maybe you get a little bit up for that one.
And if you're an Alan Partridge fan, which I'm guessing most people who listen to the show aren't, but there's going to be like 5 people maybe who are Alan Partridge fans, you'll know that it would have been much easier to watch that game after the pedestrianisation of Norwich City Centre.
That's a deep cut, my friend. It's a deep cut. I'm sure you'll get one tweet that like applauds, like it's the like DiCaprio applauding or whomever it is. You'll get that one.
In the Venn diagram, do you think there's anyone who's pro OA and pro Alan Partridge?
Yeah, you.
It's just me. Just me alone in my Venn diagram.
I'm sure there's other ones out there. I'm sure you'll hear about it. But before we hear about it, we should probably talk about today's sponsor, our friends over at Hims, a new wellness brand for men. Forhims.com is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual wellness for men. We should note Teemu Pukki could maybe listen to this ad and benefit from it, because 66% of men start to lose their hair by the age of 35. He is a man who I feel like has been doing some thinning.
I think he shaves his head a lot when it grows in. He's mostly got his hair there, but I think it's maybe starting to recede at the sides.
First of all, I'm not throwing any stones here, because glass houses and receding hairlines don't throw stones.
But you're not going to be on national television in the summer of 2020, right? I mean, global television in the summer of 2020.
Like, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen.
You think we might get a presenting job for the Euros?
Nah, that's not going to happen. You're right. So I will not be, but maybe he will be, and maybe he doesn't want to have to deal with like the unsightly bald spot that he didn't know was there, but suddenly he like catches and sees, and then maybe that throws his entire game off. He sees it on the big screen. He's like, what? I've got that going on? And then that's all he's focused on. He loses focus. Finland are built around him. Finland crash out. We don't want that, Daryl.
Well, he's got 7 months to fix it. How could he do it?
I'm going to guess that what he could do is utilize Hims, because Hims is helping guys be the best version of themselves with licensed physicians and FDA-approved products to help treat hair loss. That means he doesn't have to do awkward in-person visits. He doesn't have to take time away from his busy playing schedule and training. Instead, he can be connected via 4Hims online with real doctors, which saves him hours. It's also completely confidential and discreet, so no one's going to find out about it. And then when he shows up at the Euros with a full head of hair ready to go and scores 1 billion goals and gets the Golden Boot, we'll know why.
Oh, we won't know why if it's confidential, right? Also everyone will just be like, wow, qualifying for the Euros.
We'll just be like, what a thick head of hair he's got, and he's scoring goals.
Qualifying for the Euros makes your hair grow back.
Exactly.
I did, actually, while you were talking, I was listening, I promise, but I went and just checked a photo of Teemu Pukki just to make sure. And yeah, you're right. Like, he's holding on right now, but you can just see that he's like,
he's got a little Costanza happening.
He's 1 bad week away from it being really visible.
which is where it's
one stressful event away.
because it is about like the male pattern aspect of the baldness, and that's what he's got. He's got the sort of like hair on the forehead, but then he's got the kind of balding crown, and that's what Hims is specifically designed to help treat. So Teemu Pukki or our listeners could try Hims today by starting out with a free online visit. Go to forhims.com/total soccer. That's forhims.com/total soccer. One more time, forhims.com/total soccer.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking me to do it.
Never. But I will ask you to read the rest of the copy.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the fun bit.
Can you do it like the commercial guy?
I can't. I'm not even going to try it. I'm going to do it so that Timu can understand
it.
Prescription products are subject to doctor approval and require an online consultation with a physician who will determine if a prescription is appropriate for your Euro 2020 needs. See website for full details and safety information. This could cost hundreds if you went in person to the doctor's office or pharmacy. But remember, instead, you can go to forhims.com/total soccer.
Thank you very much to Four Hymns for sponsoring today's episode. I will say, Daryl, I think Timu Pukki is going to have difficulty understanding that because Hollywood has taught me that if you're going to do like the native speech of a person, you have to do it in English with that bad accent to go with it. You didn't even attempt a bad Finnish accent,
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure he'll be able to do it.
If it helps, I am bad at finishing.
A man who is not bad at finishing is the man I want to talk about next.
Let's do it.
We didn't quite miss this one because it happened very recently, but we haven't talked about it. We're going to do it now. Diego Maradona walks away from Gimnasia after taking over in September, continuing his pattern of leaving clubs in a fairly short amount of time.
So I quickly looked at this story. Is Gimnasia in Argentina or in Spain?
Mm-hmm.
Argentina, okay. Why did he leave?
It's not quite as dramatic as we would have expected. Essentially, his main backer was club president Gabriel Pellegrino. Diego said that if Pellegrino didn't win re-election, he would quit.
Yeah.
Elections happened. Pellegrino, I guess his voting bloc kind of fell apart, so he does not win. Diego Maradona then, a man of his word, ? He steps away from the club. It probably also maybe isn't coincidental that Maradona lost his first 3 games. He's won 3 of 5 since, but they are still third from bottom, definitely flirting with relegation. My question for you, Mr. Grove, I've got a little bit of a trivia question for you. Maradona has managed 6 clubs now in his entire career. That doesn't include Argentina.
I'm having Wikipedia game flashbacks, but okay.
How many has he managed for longer than a year of the 6?
Oh, okay. So I don't want to pretend like I'm really knowledgeable. I happen to read a bit of the story, so I think I know. Is it just the one?
It is just the one.
And it was in Saudi Arabia.
It was in UAE.
Excuse me. And he was there for 14 months.
Oh, and maybe I think it was UAE. It was Al Wasl. But but maybe I'm also confused because after that he went to Fujairah, who's in the UAE second division, failed to secure promotion. He lasted less than a year there. Dorados the same. And then I forgot that he managed a long time ago. He had Textil Mandiu and Racing Club, 94-95. Those didn't work out either. So, yeah, he continues the pattern of moving on quickly to other things.
I'm sorry that I ruined the quiz by
it's great.
By doing my homework.
It's all good, man. It's all good. You did your homework, and that's all that I can ask. But, yeah, I'm sure we'll see Diego Maradona pop up somewhere else, random sometime soon.
But each time he does, I don't have any hope that it's going to work out.
No.
It slightly has the feel of like a publicity stunt signing on behalf of teams, as opposed to like
Did you hear me name the clubs that he's managed? Yes, it definitely
instead of
does.
this is our long-term plan, we're going to get things right. So it always piques my interest, but then makes me sad.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, but it's also it's not as though we're hearing stories about him going to coaching courses or studying under other managers or learning new approaches. It can make you sad, but also it's sort of him doing it to himself because he's not really trying to. It doesn't feel like he really wants to actually be a manager. He wants to be Diego Maradona and come in and have his personality be the thing that drives everyone. Yeah. And when that doesn't really work, it kind of falls off the rails after that.
Oh, I think the only time it could have worked was that World Cup where he managed Argentina, and just through force of personality and the talent available, maybe something magic might have happened.
Yeah.
But in the end, he was far too attacking and open and didn't have any plan to deal with Germany, basically.
Exactly.
Oh, dear.
But Diego Maradona in the news once again, not surprisingly.
Oh, I'm going to ask you the question I've been asking you about once a month for a while now. Have you seen the HBO documentary?
Still have not, no.
Diego Maradona?
No, it's moved into that territory of that thing that I keep meaning to watch, and then when I've got 20 minutes free, I'm like, that seems like a commitment. And so instead I probably rewatch an Office episode I've seen 46 times.
Oh, this has just reminded me. I meant to mention this when we talked about Pochettino at the top of the show. Do you know that there's
Amazon show?
There's an Amazon Prime documentary tracking Spurs 2019-20 season. This is going to be absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos is even happier than he already was. I mean, because to be fair, that man needs money. And so at least he'll finally be able to see a little bit of a financial benefit from this documentary. It's great. It's great for him. I'm really happy.
I'm sure all of Amazon's 2020 earnings are based on the Spurs documentary.
I definitely don't think we should storm that guy's house. Definitely don't think that.
He'll already be in space.
This is true.
All right, I've got some local news for you.
He actually has the time stone.
We can get it from him. We've got a 1 in 14 million chance, right? Okay, I've got some local news for you, local-ish. MLS All-Stars in 2020, in July 2020, the opponent will be not a European team on a preseason tour. It will be the Liga MX All-Stars in Los Angeles at the LAFC Stadium. MLS All-Stars versus Liga MX All-Stars. There's part of me thinks, this is like slightly cynical. It's part of like the SUM thing. It's part of like marketing MLS and Liga MX. It's part of the convergence of MLS and Liga MX that's definitely coming. But also I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Yeah. There's a decent chance we've been going to All-Star games for the last 2 years now. I'm assuming we'll do the same. And with that in mind, to be totally honest, when I saw this news, I was like 75% really excited and 25% immediately tired and stressed out. Because I was just because in the past it's been European teams who are doing the preseason tour, and that means you get a few European journalists who are kind of sent over who don't really want to be there, and they're kind of like there in the background enjoying the free press box food because I guess it's crazy over here compared to in England. Mm-hmm. But in LA, against the Liga MX All-Stars, it is just going to be the most fanfare I can possibly imagine. The press box is going to be swarmed. There's going to be a billion people everywhere. And I just sort of instantly was like, there's going to be so many people. And it just gave me a little bit of a headache. That's all I'm saying. I'm excited, but there's a headache.
Well, here's why I'm excited is, from my experience of these All-Star games, until we went to one, I didn't fully understand that the game wasn't really that important.
Yeah.
It was more about all the events around it and like the marketing thing for the league and just people from the league gathering together to have conversations and talk about Major League Soccer.
Yeah. You got to have the unintentional crossbar challenge.
Right. Then there's also the skills challenge, which was back last year. And I enjoyed that. I thought that was a good thing.
I did too.
But it was always European team, pre-season. Often if there was a tournament the summer before, you're going to be missing the very big star name players. Like in Atlanta, we saw MLS All-Stars play Juventus, but it was the summer of 2018. So a lot of players that had been involved at the World Cup, like Cristiano Ronaldo, were not there, right? So sometimes you're missing the stars. And then other times, even though the teams aren't taking it that competitively, say Atletico Madrid, they're still way better organised than the MLS All-Stars. Mm-hmm. So you get the thing of a European team not taking it that seriously, but also being really organised and beating MLS.
Yeah, but João Felix being like, well, I'm going to show everybody why they paid a bunch of money for me.
And honestly, watching Graham Zusi try to play his way out of a Diego Simeone Atletico Madrid press was kind of like, oh no, do we really need this?
No.
But here's the thing, it's MLS All-Stars versus Liga MX All-Stars, and I know they're going to market it this way, and I know I'm sort of falling for it, but it's also sort of real. There's a genuine competitiveness to it, right? Because the two teams are in the same situation where they're not an actual team. They've just gathered together a couple of days before, maybe had one training session or whatever. But because they're both in the same situation, and you can argue like there's a pride in your league, this is actually a more competitive game, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I think this is a great idea. And then just in terms of the commercial aspect of it, we all know that the most popular league in the United States is Liga MX, right? The best viewing figures on United States television are for Liga MX games. Yep. So this game's for a domestic market, absolutely gigantic because you get all the MLS fans and all the Liga MX fans.
And to your point, I do think you'll have them caring more than we've seen from some of those European teams in the past, because what tends to happen, to your point, is you've got the stars that are there who maybe didn't play in a tournament so did show up are still like, yeah, but I'm a star and I'm not trying to kill myself in preseason. The ones who
even
tend
Zlatan,
to go...
we watched Zlatan. He hadn't played in a tournament, but he just walked for 30 minutes during the last All-Star game, right?
But with Atleti players, with Juve players, it tends to be the players you haven't heard of who are desperately trying to prove they belong. Yeah. They're really going for it, and that's kind of exciting, but not as exciting as seeing Liga MX All-Stars probably being a little bit motivated to beat, humiliate, go at MLS players, and MLS players the same. So I do think it will be a feistier affair. I'm assuming if it's in LA, my assumption was that it was LAFC hosting. Yes. Yeah. So then it's going to be Bob Bradley in charge. I also expect Bob Bradley.
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The host, the host cities, or the host teams, coaches, which was interesting in Orlando. But for Bob Bradley, I'm pretty pumped to see him because I believe he will be taking this one pretty seriously.
It's also, I mentioned this earlier, it's a step forward in the MLS Liga MX cooperation, right? There was the League Cup and the Campeones Cup. The League's Cup has expanded or will expand in 2020. We are another step closer to some sort of interleague play throughout the season or some combined playoff type system, maybe in a decade or so. I can see this coming.
If I found out 15 years from now that you were a secret sleeper agent who was sent in to help spread the idea of Mexico and the United States merging when it comes to their soccer competitions, I wouldn't be surprised. Because I feel like you've been pushing let's get as many competitions, maybe we end up competing against them, maybe we end up in one league.
But you understand,
like that idea.
They've suggested it already, right? I've heard Don Garber, and I've forgotten the Mexican League president's name. I want to say it's Bonner something. Yep. I'm sorry. They've talked about how essentially they're going to work together, right, as much as possible. And Campeones Cup, Leagues Cup, now this. I just think everything's another step towards that combined league.
Listeners, Daryl is touching an earpiece in his ear is what I'm seeing. I think he's getting some communications. He seems a little upset. I'm not sure.
Some money just arrived under the door.
Exactly.
It's in 2 different currencies.
I have questions, Daryl. That's all I'm saying.
Got to stay in business. Got to supplement my income and stay in business.
I've got another quick one that I wanted to get to because I was excited to see. With the Women's World Cup, it tends to be sort of, in the past, that kind of last-minute bidding, or we're not entirely sure who it's going to be. We still don't know who the hosts are going to be for 2023. I go back to after Canada when it was like, maybe it's going to be like somewhere in Africa. We're not really sure who it's going to be for 2019. It ends up being France. Obviously, this time around, 2 countries that are looking into bidding together potentially, Australia and New Zealand in talks for a joint bid in 2023. Australia were initially pursuing a solo bid. Then when the field expanded to 32 teams, I think their math was that basically they went from needing 6 to 8 stadiums to then 8 to 10. And I think that the time period coincides with lots of stadiums in the country being utilized for other sporting events. Mm-hmm. So then you kind of have to find ways around that. The way you find a way around that is to incorporate New Zealand, which seems to be what's going to happen. FIFA are expected to name the host city for the 2023 World Cup in May of 2020. But as far as I know, Australia and New Zealand, having not even bid yet, seem to be the most favorable bid at this point.
Do you know if there are any other bids on the table?
Not that I saw. I'm sure there's like other ones out there, but like the 3 articles I looked at said nothing about that. So here we are.
So you're expecting Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah.
I've never been. That might be a really good excuse to go.
Yep, especially because I'm not so excited. I wasn't so excited about the 2018 World Cup in Russia. I'm not really excited about the 2022 World Cup and traveling there. Mm-hmm. The 2020 Euros will be difficult because they're spread all over the place. So maybe 2023 Women's World Cup. Maybe that's where we finally go to a big tournament, Daryl Grove.
We'll start saving now in the TSS budget.
I like that plan.
If you're saving up to maybe buy some gifts for the holiday season, maybe our next sponsor can help you out.
Maybe they can.
Today's show is sponsored by Talisman Caps. Obviously, you can find them at talismancaps.com. Mm-hmm. Talisman, they've got the great new 5-panel hats, and they've got some with the retro styling on them that we've talked about. Also, all kinds of gifts and other accessories you can buy for people for the holidays. But it might not cost you anything if you enter the Talisman giveaway.
Let's talk about it. They're running a $1,000 gift card giveaway now through November 22nd. It's worth noting that we're recording this on November 20th. You got 2 days.
This is it. This is the last time you'll hear about it from us. You've got 2 days. I would say do this as soon as possible because it's free to enter. And you can't win a straight 1,000, right?
No.
Is it 10
winners
gifts
each receive a $100 Talisman & Co. gift card. Listeners can sign up on the Talisman website, earn extra points for following Talisman on social media via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, tweeting about the giveaway and taking their poll, Talisman's poll, to let them know who you cheer for, who you support.
Okay, so it sounds like you can sort of influence who Talisman chooses by doing some social media
possible.
stuff.
It's possible, yeah.
So we'll put a link in the show notes to the page where you can enter the Talisman Caps giveaway, and you could win a $100 gift card. That would be good for 2 or 3 caps, right? Yep. So that you could maybe get one for yourself, maybe a few for gifts.
Yeah, exactly, because it is the kind of holiday season right around the corner. We've already got the Christmas music happening. And so if you're starting to do your shopping or if
really? I haven't heard any.
Oh, yeah.
Where have you been? Which terrible places have you been that are playing Christmas music?
Coffee shops already rocking that one. My brother and sister-in-law were playing Christmas music the other day while we were doing work in the backyard.
Better.
Right? I know. It was distressing.
Oh, but you're preparing for a Christmas show with them,
I suppose
right?
we are.
Yeah, so they're getting in the holiday spirit.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Maybe that makes a bit more sense. But yeah, you basically have lots of great gift options at Talisman & Co. You've got the variety of hats that we've talked about many different times, many different styles and approach. You've got the vintage jerseys. You've got different other items of apparel and accessories and little things like coasters and cell phone cases and mugs and glasses. Exactly. Yeah. So there's smaller gifts that you could utilize if you've got to kind of spread it around this year. If you've got lots of people, lots of soccer people to buy for, maybe that's the way to go.
Wrapping paper sold separately.
Indeed. And the best of all, you can get 10% off a minimum purchase of $35 or more by using the promo code TOTALSOCCER10. That's TOTALSOCCER10 all together. Total Soccer, the words, 10, the number.
So thank you to Talisman for sponsoring today's show. And one more reminder, That competition closes November 22nd. That's this Friday. So you've got to enter by this Friday if you want to win. The link will be in the show notes. Click on it and all the information will be there.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. All right. Some more news stories. I think I left us off with Australia and New Zealand. Daryl Grove, where should we go next?
Ooh, since you mentioned Australia, how about the Australia equal pay deal?
Okay.
Because we didn't talk about this on the show. So the Australian men's and women's teams, the Socceroos and the Matildas, have negotiated a deal with the Federation to have equal pay, straight up equal pay. And the way they're going to do it is they have sort of thrown out the old deal, which included like salaries for players from the Federation. It is now straight up based on a new revenue sharing model where the national teams equally share about a quarter of the Federation's player generated revenue. I'm leaning heavily on a Caitlin Murray Yahoo news story here. So I've just realized that I've literally just read a sentence that she wrote.
But you gave credit, so it's fine. And you won't get in trouble for... what's the turnitin.com. You won't get in trouble for plagiarism.
Yeah, no plagiarism here, just citations.
I don't know if turnitin.com still exists, but it did when I was in college, so there we are.
So yeah, there's a new revenue sharing model. The men and women will earn equal pay. They will also receive the same treatment, right? So same travel, same hotel accommodation, all that kind of stuff, complete equal treatment. And then also, this is the interesting part of the new, I guess I don't know if they call it a CBA, but the new CBA, is that commercial opportunities will also have to be equal. So, for example, Nike has a deal with the Australian Federation to pay certain bonuses to the men's team, certain bonuses to the women's team. According to this new CBA, that now has to be renegotiated so that Nike aren't paying more to the men than to the women. And then all future commercial deals would include the same level of equality.
So we've obviously got a slightly more tense situation when it comes to equal pay here in the United States. Do you think there are lessons that can be learned from this, or does it not quite apply?
So again, I'm leaning heavily on what Caitlin wrote.
Does Caitlin think that there are lessons to be learned from this?
Well, the big difference here is that the men and women's teams did not have separate unions. There was one union, the PFA, which I assume is the Professional Footballers
Union?
Association, the PFA, the union, and they negotiated together with the Federation.
I see.
The difference here in the US is there's a men's union or a men's representation and there's women's representation. And so it struck me that suddenly if they got on the same page, then they could negotiate this, right? But it seems to me a classic American soccer problem where everybody's got their own thing and they're protecting their own thing.
Yeah.
Right?
So does it feel to you still like it would require representative of the women's team meeting with representatives of the men's team to make something happen? Would it require the men's players to come out and say, like, hey, we want to kind of approach this together? Yeah,
I mean, it would. I mean, the men could be more vocal in their support, maybe. They could volunteer to team up with the Women's Players Association to negotiate the next CBA. I don't see any indications that that's going to happen.
The men's has expired as well at this point, right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I can't remember if that's the men's or the MLS CBA.
So the thing, the MLS CBA is going to be renegotiated before the start of next season.
I'm pretty sure the men's bargaining agreement, the national one, I believe that expired in like 2018. I think that's another one where we're operating under a kind of an expired agreement in good faith.
That's it. And the problem is, like, for the men, it's less important.
Which would drive my wife, the lawyer, insane, by the way.
Right, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For the men, it's less important, right? Because they earn way more money from their clubs. Like, it's not... Your livelihood doesn't depend on the CBA with the National Federation.
I agree, but that is a really bad look because it is the equivalent of like Daryl, or me starving and Daryl being like, well, I'm not that hungry right now. I have this Christmas roast, but I'll eat it later. And I'm just like, what? But no, just because they don't need it right now, it's not the best look to then not kind of like unify and approach this together.
I agree. And then in terms of things that maybe could be learned or just copied, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'll repeat it, that the Matildas, the women's team, gave up their salary from the Federation, and in turn they think they will get more money from this revenue sharing model. That's kind of more problematic in the United States because the salary from the Federation is what helps the NWSL keep those big name players without the teams themselves spending a big budget, right? So it would require some sort of new setup if we want women's national team players to play in the NWSL.
All I'm hearing is that we need Sam Kerr around all the time because as soon as Sam Kerr leaves the United States, she gets a new gig in England and suddenly there's equal pay in Australia.
I guess
I don't know what to make of this.
Actually, this was going to be one of my stories, so I haven't properly researched it. But yeah, Sam Kerr, if you don't know, she's left Chicago Red Stars. She's taken a contract with the Chelsea team in England. So great stuff for Chelsea. I think are building a team that's meant to challenge for honours, maybe. But it's also an indication that the NWSL, with its maximum salary cap, can't really hold on to big star name players less and less can hold on to big star name players like Sam Kerr when there's good money being offered by European teams, especially in England and France and Germany.
It's going to be a bigger issue because it's the WSL in England, right?
Yeah, the FA Women's Super League.
There it is. They took advantage of the international break this weekend by having different games. I think all of them were played on Sundays, but they got 20,000 plus crowds.
There were derbies, right?
Yeah.
I said derbies like an American.
Here we go.
They had the North London Derby, the North London Derby, and I think they had a Merseyside Derby as well. Yeah.
But I think big crowds, lots of people interested, money starting to flow in, which means maybe NWSL is going to have to accelerate some of their plans if they want to keep pace.
Would you mind if I do another one of my stories next then, because that relates directly to what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
Another story that caught my eye, Grant Wall reported a few days ago that the USL, so you know the USL, it's like USL Championship, USL League One, second and third tier here in the United States. A lot of USL owners are talking about putting together women's teams and starting a rival Division 1 USL Women's League to rival NWSL, possibly in 2021.
Has there been a reason for this?
Well, one of the reasons that Grant Wall someone told him in his...
To clarify, my objection is not with there being more opportunities for professional women's soccer players. It's why would you put yourself in opposition to the NWSL, which probably does not need opposition at this point?
See, that part I don't know.
Okay.
That part I do not know. It maybe they're looking at it as like... Because, there's like the obvious disagreement with the star NWSL players who are US international team players and the federation. Like maybe that salary that's paid may no longer go to the NWSL. Maybe USL owners are thinking, hey, we could get that for our league instead.
That makes sense. And
then suddenly I can start filling stadiums. Like I can have Alex Morgan playing in my stadium. And promoting that.
See, maybe we stumbled upon it because that does make sense then. That if you're
free, by the way, for free.
There it is. Because if you're the USL, you're no longer then. Oh, you mean for free in terms of like what you would have to pay?
You don't have to pay Alex Morgan's salary. The US Soccer's paying Alex Morgan's salary.
The for free that I think is probably maybe factoring in here is that if you're USL, if you look at NWSL, which has been growing but not necessarily like expanding the way maybe people thought it would have at this point, maybe you look at that, and if there are expansion fees that you feel are exorbitantly high, you think, well, like things don't seem all great. They haven't like expanded as much. There's the kind of issues with U.S. soccer. Maybe we start our own league and we don't have to pay these expansion fees, and we kind of structure it the way we want to. And maybe we then pay them a little bit more and appeal to them, and maybe we then take over NWSL. It still seems like more of what you were talking about, where there's I want to get mine, and I'm concerned with my little area, and it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. There doesn't seem to be a lot of collective spirit there, which I wish were not the case.
Yep.
But maybe that is kind of at least partially to explain the move.
So Grant Wall couldn't get anyone on the record to say anything specific about it. Like the NWSL commissioner was like, I haven't heard anything about this. And someone from the USL would only say, we support women's soccer, which is a very, very vague statement.
Cool.
But apparently what Grant Wall was told, I think it's an unnamed source, but someone who was happy to be quoted but without their name on it, is that the sanctioning for a Division 1 women's soccer league in terms of stadium size and how much money an owner has to have is the same for Division 1 women's soccer, or very similar, as it is to Division 2 and 3. So USL owners, their stadium, their setup, they're already almost like pre-qualified to own a Division 1 women's soccer team. You get those offers in the mail?
Yeah.
They're pre-qualified.
I wonder what you have to do there, that if you're a club, like, do you just have to show, like, oh, we have this operating budget, we're fine? Like, I guess I'm wondering...
You have to prove I have this size stadium, for example.
Right.
But if you've already got that stadium, you've already done that work to get your USL men's team set up. You've got the major piece that you need to run a team.
Right.
So it kind of makes it easy to then launch a team.
But do you have to show, like, financial capabilities as well?
You do. I don't know what the number is, but yes, you do.
I guess that's what I'm saying is, like, I wonder if it's just that, like, if you have... the money, then you can do it, so that like a team that's already operating on a like $10 million a year budget, they could say like, yeah, see, we have $10 million a year, we're operating, and maybe it doesn't matter that that's already allocated. It just means you've got a $10 million a year budget. So yeah,
that's a well financed USL team.
Yeah, a $1 million a year budget. How about that?
What may have kickstarted all this is Louisville City, USL team with MLS aspirations.
Yep.
They are launching, it seems, I don't know if it's official or not, an NWSL team.
Proof Louisville.
So it may be that in that process they've sort of decided, there's been some conversations of, oh, why don't we just do this ourselves?
Yep. Because it also makes sense, especially from a Louisville perspective of, they've got U of L, they've got basketball, but they don't really have any like next level professional teams aside from Louisville City, just lost USL Championship final, but commiserations to them. But maybe that is looking at it as a way to get a top tier professional team in as quickly as possible, because the women's game is, I would say, an underdeveloped, underutilized market.
Yeah.
So you become like the next big thing for women's soccer, and maybe that kind of elevates you to another level in terms of the like sports atmosphere.
Yeah, it's something that you can see, this is growing, we should get in on this. It may be as simple as that. But to your earlier point, we know the history of soccer in the US is if you have the soccer wars of two competing leagues at the same division, you dilute the talent pool, you run into all sorts of trouble because you're like clashing with each other, and it always ends up going down, right? Yeah. So I don't understand why these USL owners aren't just thinking about how could we, even if it's like proposing to NWSL that we do some sort of merger, do you know what I mean? Like think of it as one league with the combined strength of the NWSL and the USL owners, because NWSL needs expansion, right? So why not just like part of the expansion is a USL merger?
That would be fine. I would be okay with that because you're right.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, because to your point with like the soccer wars, there's I haven't watched Succession in a while, but there's the quote about Logan Roy in there that it's like he burned everything and then called the ashes an empire, and that is what tends to happen when it comes to soccer wars. When you battle each other, you hurt yourself, you weaken your standing, it becomes a sort of like public PR slog nightmare, and then even if you win, you still have done so by kind of weakening your own brand. Whereas unifying and working together, now you got more money and everybody's happy and everybody's on board.
That should be how it works.
It should be how it works. It's not really how it works in US soccer,
that should be how it works.
Here we are.
All right, so I've just done two in a row, so I should definitely throw it back to you. What's some more news that we've missed? I'm excited because I don't know what this is going to be.
Mine's a little bit of a downer, I'll say. Luis Enrique returns to Spain. I think the Sid Lowe headliner article, like paraphrasing it, was essentially what should have been a party is instead like a tragedy or a stressful event at the very least, because basically Luis Enrique, the very quick abbreviated story, Luis Enrique stepped down from the Spain national team. His assistant, Robert Moreno, took over, has guided Spain through Euro qualifying, and now Luis Enrique has returned, and Robert Moreno is out. And there's a bit of drama there as well. So that's the abbreviated version. The longer version would be that Luis Enrique takes over as Spain manager in July of 2018. He leaves Spain camp in March of 2019 to be with his daughter, who is battling cancer, I believe 9-year-old daughter. He then steps down officially in July to focus fully on her battle against cancer. She passed away, so then he was in mourning. I think it took about 3 months to kind of recover and process her loss. In the meantime, Robert Moreno, Luis Enrique's assistant and friend, point there, takes over. And he's been his assistant at Barcelona and
at Celta, at
Roma. Well. He'd been around. And essentially, once Luis Enrique steps down officially that July, Robert Moreno is given a permanent deal through the end of the 2020 Euros. So basically through qualifying and then into the Euros. And it makes sense because Spain, as we've already talked about, topped Group F in qualifying, 8 wins, 2 draws, 0 losses. So about as good as you could do with a plus 26 goal difference. It means he had the players on board. He had people kind of buying into the system. Santi Cazorla was back and scored a goal this past week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it seemed like everything was good.
The look on my face that you're seeing is, it sounds to me like Spain gave Moreno a contract through the end of Euro 2020, but also I know they told Luis Enrique, we're ready for you to come back whenever you want to come back.
This is the very confusing thing to me, and I honestly think it's not even worth saying like who is right and wrong here. Yeah. Maybe you could say the Spanish FA, because that's where I tend to be.
Sounds like they've double booked themselves.
Spanish FA president Luis Rubiales said this week after Enrique had returned, quote, "We have been honest from the start. We always said 1,001 times the door would always be open for Luis Enrique whenever he wanted to return. We told Moreno from the very start, the moment Luis Enrique wanted to return, he would return. We have always been transparent. In September, Moreno himself said he would be delighted to step aside, insisting that Luis Enrique is a friend and friends are above all else." But then it sounds...
September 2019, so that's not that long ago.
It's not. It sounds like... It's very vague, it's very mysterious, but it sounds like in the 2 months since then, things have changed dramatically. And that Moreno, I think, started to maybe feel like he kind of deserved the job. He saw Spain through qualifying. It seems like maybe his relationship with Luis Enrique has changed as well. So reports surfaced last week that Rubiales, the president, was not convinced by Moreno. Moreno demanded clarification. And then, according to Rubiales, basically on Monday, they got a text from Moreno saying he wished to step down. He wouldn't stand in Luis Enrique's way, which implies that Luis Enrique basically texted him and said, or called him and said, like, hey, I want to come back, just so you know. And that was kind of what started it.
But he's
now,
not going to go back to being his assistant.
He's not. Moreno, their final game in Euro qualifying, it was a 5-0 demolition of Romania. By all accounts, it was a tearful locker room goodbye. He avoided reporters. The players did not talk to reporters either, and he will not take his prior position. So it seems like something has gone wrong. So essentially, it's sort of Luis Enrique returning after the death of his daughter to the Spanish national team was meant to be this sort of like he's back and we can embrace him and we can all move forward together. But now there's this awkward situation because I think to your point, Spain basically said, here's a permanent job to one guy, and to the other said, but that job's yours whenever you want it.
All right. Having only
it's
read
a Conan J situation.
Yeah. Having only read a couple of stories, I feel like Moreno's in the wrong here.
Okay.
I feel like he was the assistant and he was saying, I'll take over just while my friend is dealing with this. But then when it comes time for his friend to come back, he's not willing to go back to being an assistant. It seems to me, and again, I know I'm just judging this from reading a couple of news stories and not really knowing much about Moreno, that he's just like got a taste for being the head coach and has decided, I want the big job now.
And to be fair, like, what else can he say in that moment? If you're asked in a press conference, like, your friend Luis Enrique is helping his daughter battle cancer, but if he comes back, are you going to stand in his way? Like, you can't really say no in that moment. You have to say, like, no, I want the best for him. I always want to look out for him. But it does feel a little bit like, maybe your instincts are right there, that at the same time he thought, but it's my job now, and I've got the permanent deal. Everybody believes in me, so it should be fine.
And I'm sure there's more to the story than I know.
Certainly.
Just reading a couple of news
stories.
And me
as well, yeah.
So, but that's what it looks like to me from the outside. Okay.
But so here we are again. The quick final point on this is here we are again with Spain, seeming like they should be in really solid footing, that they breeze through qualifying. They've got this coach who's kind of got it going. It seems like the players are bought in, and now the coach that they were enjoying. There were some concerns about Luis Enrique as Spain manager, but we can put those aside for now. And it seems like, okay, now he's back and it's all going to come together. And instead, we find ourselves again with Spain in a sort of weird, is this the coach they want? Is he going to be around?
Yeah.
Is this where we need to be? And
So,
I'm not sure how it plays out.
For those who don't remember, World Cup 2018, they were absolutely flying under Lopetegui. Until Lopetegui seemed to agree to take the Real Madrid job after the World Cup while he was still the Spain coach. And then they fired him while they were like about to start the tournament, right?
Yep.
And just let Fernando Hierro take charge.
And that worked out great.
And then the tournament didn't go so well.
Not so much.
Oh, Spain.
Yeah, Spain have made some choices.
Certainly.
We'll see how they play out next summer. But before we do that, we've got a couple more stories, I do believe.
We sure do. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is leaving Major League Soccer. So there was some speculation about whether he would sign another contract and play another year for the LA Galaxy. But no, he tweeted at the end of the season, I came, I saw, I conquered. Thank you, LA Galaxy, for making me feel alive again. To the Galaxy fans, you wanted Zlatan. I gave you Zlatan. You are welcome. The story continues. Now go back to watch baseball. That's
Bye-bye.
how Zlatan leaves us.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
Man, he really... I loved Zlatan coming into his time with LA Galaxy. I enjoyed him with the LA Galaxy. Some of the playoff games, I think I blame Joe Lowry for this, is what I'm going to say. Because Joe was the one who kind of put in my head the idea that, like, maybe Zlatan is also kind of a problem for the Galaxy and that he doesn't really do anything defensively. He's not going to run if he doesn't feel like it. He knows he's the biggest personality there and can kind of do what he wants. And that started to kind of shine through even before the All-Star game that you already mentioned, where it was, again, sort of he was standing up top. It's an All-Star game. Who cares? But as the season progressed, it didn't feel like he was kind of raising them to that next level where the Galaxy were going to win MLS Cup, as an example. Yep. So him saying, you're welcome, and I did it, I don't really know what to make of that one.
Well, here are his stats. 56 MLS appearances, 52 goals.
Decent.
17 assists.
Yep.
0 defensive pressures.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but it feels like it could be true.
It does feel
true. You
true,
absolutely
right?
could have told me that was real.
So I would say that I understand you getting sort of sick of the persona, but I think it's worth thinking of that tweet and a lot of the things Zlatan said while he was in Major League Soccer as a marketing exercise.
Yeah, certainly.
And almost one that either the LA Galaxy or the league was kind of on board with. It was like, come in, do your thing, but also be the heel. You know what I mean? Like, go out there and say stuff. I think it's definitely premeditated. Even though, okay, listen to this. Listen to the last sentence again. Now go back to watch baseball.
Yeah,
it's almost like the grammar is off almost deliberately. Do you know what I mean? If you'd taken your time writing that tweet to get correct, it would have been no, go back to watching baseball.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's deliberately like in character, and I think that's been what the whole Zlatan, not the whole thing, but a lot of what the Zlatan exercise has been a bit of a marketing thing for Major League Soccer where Zlatan plays into the persona.
Yeah, but like I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. We're in season 14 now. Those characters have evolved. They are, I would say, negatively, and they're more like lunatic parodies of themselves than they were in the first season, but they changed. And I think it's just that Zlatan's shtick since he got here and even before that has just been that like, you're welcome, I am Zlatan, I'm amazing, you're welcome.
Well, that's why maybe it only lasts for a year and a half before people are a bit like, okay, I've seen it.
Yeah, and it's just also like, you're not this like, all-conquering, like, yes, he scored 52 goals, but they didn't win MLS Cup. It's not as though he kind of redefined the game the way other DPs have and other players who've played in this league have. So I think it's just that it's like the same shtick, but still expecting to be like, I'm adorable at the same time.
I get it. I will say, he does leave us with one big legacy. I really mean this, and it's El Tráfico.
Yep.
So the very first El Tráfico, the LA Galaxy versus LAFC, is that game where Zlatan makes his debut, comes off the bench, LA Galaxy are losing. He scores that volley from nearly the halfway line, make it 3-3 off the bench. And then he scores the winner with a header to make it 4-3. And every El Tráfico since has been wild, including the one that LAFC won and the LA Galaxy lost in the playoffs. I think that is Zlatan's legacy. That game was probably always going to be pretty good, but he came in and really just elevated that one game to a whole new level of exciting derby by just having insane things happen in it.
I think that that's a fair point to make. I would say, though, like I don't know how much of a legacy he has in MLS in the end. I think
I just told you what it was.
I think that's probably it. That's what I'm saying. But like aside from that, like I don't think he is that for who he is and the reputation he brought and the kind of prestige and history he has, I don't think you're going to remember it as like he like was this dominant force who tore the league apart.
I think you could put together a highlight reel that makes it look like he was a dominant force tearing the league apart, and it's 52 goals. But every MLS analyst that I respect has basically said, yeah, those moments were great, but the LA Galaxy will be a better team when they can build without Zlatan, because they can, for example, have a forward that pressures defenses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's the future. Is the LA Galaxy will get better without Zlatan, and we'll have these highlight moments to just look back on, and the league can use them as marketing or whatever.
Yeah.
But the standard of football is about to get better without Zlatan.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And like, but do you think like 5 years from now are we still talking about like, oh yeah, remember Zlatan? Like, or like, oh Zlatan?
Yeah.
Okay.
We won't do it every day.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not saying like we're going to forget him. I just like I wonder if he'll have that staying power that other DPs have had.
Yeah, in a different way, though. In a sort of slightly cynical marketing kind of way.
Who stands out more?
Because even Beckham like came and it felt very marketing-y, and eventually Bruce Arena put that team together and they actually won trophies.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Who stands out more long-term, Zlatan or Wayne Rooney?
Probably Zlatan. Probably Zlatan, because Rooney didn't really achieve much in terms of...
but he had that one tackle.
He did have that. I mean, he has that one moment, right, where he gives the assist to, I believe, Vitor Acosta.
Zlatan has 52 moments.
But this past season was not so memorable for Wayne Rooney. Yeah, Zlatan has more moments. Yeah,
there we are. All right, well, we'll stay in MLS. My final bit of news that we have yet to discuss is Thierry Henry taking over at the Montreal Impact.
Yeah.
I was so sure this was going to be a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. I blame Pablo Mar and Felipe Cardenas for writing an excellent athletic piece that kind of has me feeling like maybe it's not going to be a total disaster.
Okay, tell me more. Because it did not go so well at Monaco.
It did not, and lest we forget, like it didn't always go so well at Red Bull, at New York Red Bull.
When he was playing?
Yeah, when as a player he struggled with, to their point, officiating the league's open media access. He didn't love how reporters could just come into the locker room and ask questions.
He also didn't love how his teammates weren't as good as him. I have a lot of memories of him just demonstrating
hands in the air frustration. Yeah. More on that in a moment. He did not love the poor playing surfaces, the tactically regressive coaches, and that was all factored into. Maybe he already has some frustration with MLS, and then to your point, I think about the hand-waving and the frustration and being visibly annoyed by his teammates, and we heard those same reports coming out of Monaco, that he would sort of step into training because he didn't think players were good enough or doing the right thing, and he basically just kept being like, I'll show you how it's done, which serves... Like, it's counterintuitive, but it goes basically it tells the players you're not good enough. The coach thinks you can't do it. You're not actually coaching them to be better. So all of these reasons were reasons why I felt like maybe it's not going to work out. The point of the piece from Pablo and Felipe is essentially that, like, if you look at Monaco and like look at it in depth, you realize he kind of inherited a really, really difficult situation with Leonardo Jardim leaving. Yeah. They had just sold 5 or 6 very, very key players.
Am I right in thinking they had that Champions League semi-final run and then they sold guys like Kylian Kylian Mbappe,
yes.
and so on.
Yeah. And
so essentially that Champions League semi-final team was just ripped apart.
Fabinho in there as well, I believe.
Right, and then he was left with, he was just, here's what's left over, good luck.
Except it was here's what's left over after Leonardo Jardim has already kind of crashed and burned this season, and you're being brought in to resuscitate things, but this is Henry, who didn't have any first-team experience at that point.
He's
been
an
an assistant
to Martinez for Belgium, right?
Right, and so I think he's also, by all accounts, obsessed with the kind of philosophy and tactics and the deeper understanding of soccer. That's how, like, he gets caught up watching an amateur soccer game and like loses focus talking to media because he's so focused on like what's happening on the field. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Happened. That happened in the
guy.
Story. Yeah, apparently
Right.
It was like an amateur game between like police and firefighters in New York after a Red Bulls game, and he was just like, "What are they doing?" Like, he was super into it, and so apparently that's kind of who he is. He is a disciple of Pep Guardiola. He played under Guardiola at Man City. He's I forget who the other and Arsene Wenger. So he's big on the philosophy and new ideas of coaching. You can't really implement those in sort of an emergency situation at Monaco. So the idea was here essentially he's given semi-carte blanche as much as Saputo is ever going to give a manager in Major League Soccer to sort of do what he wants.
Do you think he still wants the job after Daniel Lovitz was left unprotected in the MLS expansion draft?
Do you think Thierry Henry knew who Daniel Lovitz was?
I mean, I think it's the same as losing Kylian Mbappe.
It's definitely the same. So, like, it's worth noting that he was the one who contacted Montreal Impact when the vacancy became official. He was also there.
Bonjour, this is Thierry Henry.
He was their only interview. So I guess the interview he impressed. He had ideas for how he wants things to go and is now in charge. He's their 7th coach in 8 seasons. So I would say the article, like, I still have some of those lingering concerns, but maybe this is essentially, it is also that this is his last opportunity, basically, that at this point, if he fails here, if he's failed in Monaco, if he's failed in Major League Soccer, are there that many more clubs, like semi-high-profile clubs, who are going to want to come in and roll the dice on him?
Probably. He's a pretty big name.
I think it probably requires him to be an assistant manager for another coach for a little bit longer, and then maybe he gets another gig. But he has a lot of eggs in this basket, and I think as a result is going to be maybe more committed than we've ever seen him to making things happen, to finding success in MLS.
I mean, at the very least, it makes Major League Soccer really interesting.
Yes,
next
it does.
season. The standard of the profile of coaches, and maybe even the talent of coaches. Yeah, the talent of coaches is definitely up, right?
Yeah.
Bradley, Almeida, now Henry.
And I think
it's really exciting.
I think I'm not sure if Pablo and Felipe made that point. They talked about how he didn't like the tactics when he was a player.
Yeah.
But I think to your
it's
point,
a few years ago now, right?
Yeah, but that's probably not a coincidence that as you get more like exciting, young or new or innovative coaches coming into the league and then moving on to other big jobs, Tata Martino would be one. I do wonder if he looks at it as an opportunity to do the same and sort of cement his status as an up-and-coming manager in North America, at least.
All right. Have you got time for one more story that people might have missed? If you listen to us do the Richmond Kickers Weekly podcast throughout the season, you will know that I think either our final podcast or the penultimate podcast, we talked about how they fired or didn't renew the contract of head coach David Bulow. We were at the press conference last week. The Richmond Kickers have a new head coach.
They certainly do.
It's Darren Sawatzki. He's the former Seattle Sounders assistant and U23 coach. I think he was involved with the academy there as well. And then last season he was the head coach of FC Tucson. He's the new Kickers head coach. We went to the introductory press conference. We haven't spoken individually to him yet. I'm hoping we'll get him on the show either later this year or before the new season next year. I was pretty impressed with what he had to say.
I feel like I can pick the thing that made you most excited.
Okay.
Was it when you asked him about his philosophy and he immediately responded with, like, we're going to go out there and press. We're going to go at him and we're going to try to, like, make stuff happen. I'm all about attack.
I like that he gave some specifics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think anytime a coach says we're all about pressing, I think Daryl is just like, thumbs up, I'm good.
But I think he also then got into some detail about how essentially he's going to be flexible.
Adaptable, yeah.
Right, yeah. And I think it is the opposite to the very possession-heavy, this is my philosophy approach of David Bulow before. It's about we're going to do this until it works versus Sawatzki seems to be more about we're going to do whatever it takes each game. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see at City Stadium, which is where the Kickers play. It'll be interesting to see that new approach. And then the thing I found really interesting as well is he's not just head coach, he's also sporting director and president and GM Matt Spear, or maybe former GM, I don't know if those roles now pass to Darren Sawatzki, said basically, Sawatzki has all these contacts from his long time in soccer, and he'll be able to bring in players, and he can do that better than I can.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that there's a coach who's now empowered to use his contacts to bring in players from all over the United States.
Yes.
As a Kickers fan and as someone who's probably going to be covering the team in 2020, I'm interested to see who he brings in.
Yeah. So
Plus, we've had 3 bad years of the kickers.
Yeah.
We're ready for a good
So
year.
they've held on to, 12 players, I think it was, from last season. I'm going to guess they're going to sign a few more because I don't think 12 is going to be enough. Yes.
2 injuries away from a crisis.
Yeah. I think that was the Kickers the entirety of last season. So, yes, I'm going to guess we'll get some new players, and then we'll be able to see in preseason sort of what he's changed, how he's approaching things.
Yep, and I've just heard from a couple people that they're really impressed with Sawatsky.
Yeah, Matt Spear, the president, mentioned that in the kind of interview process, the search process, he spoke with Brian Schmetzer, who had nothing but good things to say, and talked a lot about his Sawatsky's philosophy and background in coaching and his approach to developing young players.
Yep.
That also factored into the decision as well.
And I've had a couple of people who I won't name, like it's kind of, I assume off the record, just personal stuff, who've reached out and said, hey, you'll be in for a good year with this guy.
Yep.
So that makes me optimistic. Darren Sawatsky, new Richmond Kickers head.
It was Raul Ruiz-Diaz, right?
That's it was.
Yes. Okay.
It was.
Yeah.
You got any other news you want to share, Taylor?
Nope. That's it.
All right. Then that was a lot of news,
I think.
For one show.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's now or never, or forever hold your peace. So we will close.
Jose Mourinho has been fired from Tottenham? Oh, I do have a random one. It is totally random. But speaking of coaches being immediately fired, did you know that there's going to be a Ted Lasso TV show?
No.
Yeah, apparently that's being developed. Ted Lasso.
Have they cancelled the Spurs documentary and they're going to do that instead?
Oh man, I hope so. Yeah, I heard that from somebody that it was like Jason Sudeikis, that character. I think they're going to try to make a TV show out of it. We'll see if that's still the case. I don't know if that was like a planned thing that's fallen through, but if that happens, I don't know if it was a good in small doses sort of thing or if it's just a good overall because I do love me some Sudeikis.
But also I like Sudeikis as well, but part of the charm of the Ted Lasso thing was seeing Sudeikis interact with actual Spurs players. Right? I assume.
How many countries are in this country?
Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant. That was about Bale, right? Was he talking to Gareth Bale?
Yeah.
For that one? But I assume this will be some sort of scripted show. And I always feel like when it's scripted soccer, you run into trouble.
Yeah.
See the goal movies. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean? They're so good.
Yeah. I'm sure they are.
They're not.
I mean, but I'm interested. I'm interested, yeah.
Yep.
If it's Lorne Michaels producing, I'm interested.
That would probably help.
Yeah.
And if it's, who's the one who produces all the shows ever?
Oh, the best
Is it Greg
guy
Shore?
for me, it's Mike Shore.
Michael Shore, yeah.
You're getting
right.
confused
Greg
with
Daniels, Mike Shore.
He's also good, yeah. But Mike Shore is The Good Place. But The Office, I think he's involved.
Parks and Rec and Brooklyn
Definitely
Nine-Nine.
Parks and Rec.
Yep,
Yeah.
all 4. He good.
He is good. All right, on that note, I will say, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. If you want more, you could always try our other podcast, Soccer 101. That's out there. Go find it. But thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll talk to you again very soon.